10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Oops, I cut that off a little bit soon. All right, well, I'm back with everybody. That's what happens when you're trying to handle the background sound system and also trying to take care of the introduction, getting everything set for you. Well, let me start right off. It's Michael Voss, the Dragon of the Southern Tier, here with you today, and I hope everyone is having a great day. Today is August 1st, and I'm going to be talking about the Democratic debate, the second Democratic debate, the 2020 Democratic July Night 2 debate with 10 nominees, and I'm going to be speaking a little bit about that. The reason why I'm doing this, this isn't coming out live, it's being done on August 1st, because like most Americans, I work. And no, it's not like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and so many others who say, well, it's because Americans are working 2, 3 jobs. I think it was candidate, what's his name? Beto O'Rourke, the fake Hispanic, who's trying to imply that there's, Americans working 3, 4 jobs. No, that's not true. There's only about 1.5 million people, if I remember correctly, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics from the government itself. No, there's only about 1.5 million out of 160 million people who work 2 jobs. Americans don't work 3 or 4 jobs at a time. But I was at work yesterday, and I was working with one of my nonprofits that I'm on to set up an event for this weekend. And so that's why I wasn't able to watch the debate live, and that's why I'm doing this now. What I propose to do is to cover the opening statements. The opening statements are the most important. This is the message that any candidate is trying to get across to the public. It's uninterrupted. It is their time to say, hey, this is why you should pay attention to me. And we're going to go through this. This is with Bill de Blasio, Michael Bennet, Inslee, Kirsten Gillibrand, Gabbard, Castro, Yang, Booker, Harris, and Biden. That's who's going to be on stage. And I'm going to try and hold myself to a time limit of about 2 minutes for each one. So we're going to hear what they have to say, and I'm going to comment on it, on what their message is to America and what does that really mean. How do we look at this from a viewpoint of a non-progressive, from the viewpoint of someone who doesn't believe in socialism, someone who doesn't agree with gender identity politics. So if you agree with those things and you think, well, that's absolutely important, you're not going to like this video, and that's okay. You don't have to, but just be prepared. So if people tell me, well, Mike, you just don't like socialism. Yeah, you're right. And if you say, oh, well, Mike, well, you just can't get it because you don't agree. Well, that's not entirely true. I don't agree with those kind of politics, but you'll see what I mean as we go through. So I hope you'll watch the whole thing with me as we talk about the 2020 Democratic debate. And for Turner Broadcasting in particular, I want to give a special message to them. Turner Broadcasting, my content is my content. There is a such thing as fair use. And when I am making a newsworthy commentary on a news event, you don't get to claim my content. A lot of people, some people may recall that I was covering the live debate night 1, and I got shut down. I was having internet issues all over the place. That was because of Turner Broadcasting, who tried to claim my original content as their own and did effectively shut down some of my streams and feeds. And guess what, Turner Broadcasting? I'm not going to be silenced, and I'm standing against you, and I have challenged it, and I dare you to take my content as your own. I don't care if I'm small. You don't get to have my content. But that being said, folks, let's get right into this, and we're going to start off right at the beginning. This is CNN, their coverage, and my commentary on their coverage. So we're going to jump right into it. So let's start right at the beginning here.
1 minute, Mayor Bill de Blasio, please begin.
To the working people of America, tonight I bring you a message of hope. We can make change in this country. I know from personal experience it can be done. When I became the mayor of the nation's largest city, I set us on a path of bold change. They said it couldn't be done, but we gave pre-K to every child for free. We got rid of stop and frisk and we lowered crime. We raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Yes, it can be done. Now, tonight, we have to get to the heart and soul.
Actually, I just want to stop right there. So that was something that's very important that we heard from Mayor de Blasio. Let's get a couple things straight off the bat. The first thing is Mayor Bill de Blasio is at 0.4% according to Real Clear Politics. In other words, no one in the nation really cares. And part of that reason is because according to the Siena College poll, 75% of New York State hates him and does not want to see him as mayor of New York, let alone president of the United States. That being said, let's actually deal with what he said so far. And that is that he's talking about the minimum wage, $15 minimum wage. It is a proven fact reported by the Times and Fortune magazine and several others that the $15 minimum wage has actually hurt New York State. It has increased the cost of food. It has cost people their jobs, and it has lowered the number of people who are working. So it's cut jobs, it has cut hours, it has reduced pay, it has increased the cost for the average American in New York City because of the $15 minimum wage. He hasn't helped anyone. He has hurt people for an ideology that he claims is good, but no one else seems to agree with. So let me go back to his video, and I'm going to reclaim. I have about 1 minute left, so we're going to go with that.
We are as Democrats. There are good people on this stage, but there are real differences. Joe Biden told wealthy donors that nothing fundamentally would change if he were president. Kamala Harris said she's not trying to restructure society. Well, I am. For 40 years, working people have taken it on the chin in this country. For 40 years, the rich have gotten richer, and they paid less and less in taxes. It cannot go on this way. When I'm president, we will even up the score, and we will tax the hell out of the wealthy to make this a fairer country and to make sure it's a country that puts working people first.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio. Senator Michael Bennet.
Okay, before we get to Bennett, let me come back and finish up. I've got about 45 seconds here. So, with Bill de Blasio, let's understand something. He is rich. He is the 1%. He is a multimillionaire. And when we look at that, I have to ask one very simple question. You want to raise the taxes on the rich. Mayor de Blasio and everyone who wants to make this claim and everyone who is on that stage for the Democrats, how much money have you donated to the IRS voluntarily? If they want to pay more in taxes, there is nothing in the universe that is stopping them from being able to pay more in taxes. How much money have you donated? Because I guarantee you, if I donate $1 to the IRS tomorrow, and they normally get about $1 million in donations, well, guess what? I have donated more than everyone on that Democratic stage at this moment. One final thing, because I know I'm over on my time, and that is that you want to transform America, and several people will say this on that stage right now. What are you transforming it into? You want to change the society. You want to change the social structure. You're changing it to what? Please finish the statement, because that is the important part of that statement. What is America becoming under your leadership in your perfect world? They won't answer that, and that should trouble people. But let's continue with the next speaker, which is Bennett.
Thank you. Last week, I saw one of those Trump signs that says, America, love it or leave it. And it was on the outside of a church. I love America, and I know we can make it better. Before coming to the Senate, I ran a large urban school district where most of the kids live in poverty. Those kids have exactly the same hopes that I had. Their parents have exactly the same hopes for them that my parents had for me, and that Susan and I had for our 3 children. But for the last 3 years, we've been consumed by a president who frankly doesn't give a damn about your kids or...
Okay, let's stop there for a second and let's really address this. So Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado is trying to say that Trump hates kids. Okay, that's a personal attack. Fine. It's here his time on the stage. Doesn't really do anything for America. Whether Trump loves or hates kids, what's his policy? Is his policy for or against kids? That's a very big question. But let me ask you something, Senator. You were in charge of schools. You had poor kids. Here's the first question everyone should ask. How are those kids doing today? Are they more? Are they just the same number of kids who are in poverty? Are those families still in poverty? Or have you done something? Have you enacted policies that have raised them out of poverty? $15 billion has been, $15 trillion has been spent since President Johnson on the war on poverty. And we have as many, if not more people who are in poverty today, actually the same percentage and more people who are in poverty today than at the start of the Democrats' war on poverty. So please tell me, what have you done? Let's go back to his words, and I will hold on to my time.
Mr. President, kids belong in classrooms, not cages.
Okay, stop right there. We got to stop again. And I'm going to go back to my time here. So, Mr. Bennett, American kids aren't in cages. You're talking about illegal aliens. And you're talking about the Obama administration who put kids in cages. We know this because these are the photos that the Democratic Party is using, which they didn't use under President Obama. So you're confusing things and you're trying to use emotion and the heartstrings of Americans for your advantage. Americans are not in cages. Illegal aliens aren't in cages. They were under President Obama, but you're trying to say that illegal aliens should be in American schools paid for by American taxpayers. Let's be honest with the American people. You're promoting illegal aliens and rewarding them for committing a crime against America. So let's be straight on that. Okay, I'm going to go on.
And they deserve something better than a bully in the White House. Let's end this three-ring circus in Washington. And let's make this election about reclaiming our future for our kids and our democracy. Empty promises won't beat Donald Trump. I can.
Governor Jay Inslee.
Good evening. I'm Jay Inslee. I am running for president.
Okay, I got to stop it right there because this is kind of funny. Jay Inslee, she just mentioned your name. You have to mention your name again? You know why? Because, by the way, Michael Bennet is at 0.2%. But Jay Inslee isn't even on the board. He has no rating according to Real Clear Politics. He doesn't count. He has to mention his name because nobody knows what his name is. He's not getting coverage. He's not important. But let's continue. I don't want to take away from his time or my own.
Because the people in this room and the Democrats watching tonight are the last best hope for humanity on this planet. If we make defeating the climate crisis the top priority of the United States, we will have a fighting chance to save ourselves and our children's future.
Okay, stopping again. I'm sorry. You're saying that climate change is the most important thing in the world. So it's not terrorism coming out of North Korea. It's not terrorism coming out of Iran, the leader of terrorism. It's not the billions of dollars that America freed up and gave to Iran that is promoting, according to former Secretary John Kerry, promoting terrorism globally. No, those aren't a problem. The trade embargoes, the national debt, none of that is important. Education is not important. No, climate change is. Okay, so let's understand something very clearly about this. The United States leads the world and has continued to lead the world since 2013 in the reduction in CO2 gas, greenhouse gas. We beat all of Europe combined. We beat our next closest reduction in the world, which is Britain, by 6 times. And guess what? For as much as we have reduced it, China, India, and 2/3 of Africa alone, each of them have increased production, outpacing the amount that America reduces. So if you're really worried about global climate, then you're talking about the wrong thing. You need to address China, India, and 2/3 of Africa, not the United States, which is actually getting the job done. But I will reclaim my time.
It has to be our top priority. My plan is one of national mobilization, quickly bringing 100% clean energy to Americans, creating 8 million good union jobs. This is a big, bold, ambitious plan for clean energy for a big, bold, ambitious nation. Middle ground approaches are not enough. We must confront the fossil fuel industry. I've been working on this for 25 years, and now we know this. We are at a tipping point, and whether we shrink from this challenge or rise to it is the vital question of our time. We Democrats believe we can still do big things in this nation. We can defeat the climate crisis. Let's get to work.
Okay, so yeah, let's really get to work. Let's understand that 25 years ago, 35 years ago, the same environmentalists that were telling us today that the world is going to boil over and that there's global warming were telling us that the world was going to freeze and there was global cooling. They changed the term to climate change because, in fact, the time climate changes every day and they can't get their message straight and the data doesn't support any of the things that they have said. Let's also mention that you want to create 8 million jobs. Well, guess what? According to the AFL-CIO, the very unions that you're trying to promote under the Green New Deal disagree and don't want your global your initiative on green new energy. They oppose this. So I don't understand what you think you're trying to say. But let's be very clear about this. The Green New Deal fails. It's a failure of a proposal, and it is opposed by unions as well as anyone who can do math. So that's all I have to say. Let me reclaim the time. Actually, I'm out of time. Let's go on to the next person.
Senator Kirsten Gillibrand.
My grandmother taught me that nothing's impossible. She spent 2 generations organizing women in upstate New York. My mother taught me nothing's impossible. She was one of only 3 women in her law school class and worked with gay couples for basic rights. If you want to get something done, just tell me it's impossible. As a freshman senator, I was told you couldn't repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Even members of my own party told me it wasn't convenient. When are civil rights ever convenient? We stood up to the Pentagon and we got it done. Not impossible. 10 years ago, I was told you couldn't pass health care for our 9/11 first responders, those heroes who raced up the towers when others were coming down. Even when Congress turned its back on them, we kept fighting. Just last week, we made the 9/11 health bill permanent.
Stop. Okay, hold on. This is just too much. So my ever so favorite, she's my senator, one of my senators in New York State, Kirsten Gillibrand, who is currently at 0.4% and has gone nowhere over the last 9 months. She started her campaign lying to her constituents, saying she was going to finish her full 6-year term and had no interest in running for president, and within a week of the election actually was in New Hampshire campaigning. She's a liar, and that is a fact. Now, that being said, I have to say that the big problem I have with her, first she starts off with gender politics. I understand your grandmother and your mother did great things. Fantastic. That's not you. You're the one who's running for president, not them. If your grandmother or your mother was running, I would love to hear about their accomplishments. That's not your accomplishments. What are your accomplishments? You have none. So let's get that straight. Second thing, stop taking credit for what other people have done. You want to talk about 9/11? That isn't you. That was Jon Stewart. Let's give Jon Stewart the credit he deserves. He was jumping up and down for years trying to make sure that Republicans and Democrats and everyone else passed the 9/11 bill. And he is the one who is responsible for that. And I give him great credit for that, crazy liberal that he is, because he made the effort. I'm sorry, you're wrong. I'm not sorry. You're wrong, Kirsten Gillibrand. That isn't you. That was Jon Stewart. Stop taking credit for things you didn't do. I will go back to her time.
Beating Donald Trump, definitely not impossible. We need a nominee who will take on the big fights and win. We need a nominee who doesn't know the meaning of impossible.
Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard.
Okay, before we go to Gabbard, yes, for my final 26 seconds on Kirsten Gillibrand, very simply, you're right. You need Democrats need a candidate who can actually believe in the impossible, and it is nearly impossible. And I will say that Kirsten Gillibrand, you believe in the impossible because you believe you have a campaign right now at 0.4% national interest. And the only reason you're on the stage is because Cory Booker actually begged for his supporters to come out and support you, to give you donations so that you would be able to be on that stage. Is it an impossible action? Absolutely. Can Kirsten Gillibrand do it? No. Let's go on with Gabbard.
I love our country. It's why I enlisted after 9/11. I've served as a soldier for over 16 years, deployed twice to the Middle East, and serve in Congress now for almost 7 years. I know what patriotism is, and I've known many great patriots throughout my life. And let me tell you this, Donald Trump is not behaving like a patriot.
Stop right there. Hold on. First of all, Ms. Gabbard is, Representative Gabbard, is at 1%. So we finally reached people who actually have some kind of national interest. She's at 1%. And here's the big question we have to say. While I immensely respect her service to our nation, and thank you for that, I have to say, what gives you the right to define what is or is not patriotic? How do you define that? Are you trying to say that people who did not serve in the military are not patriotic? Because I disagree with that as a member of the military myself. So you can't tell me, and I've known many veterans, none of them agree with, oh, you must serve to be patriotic. And you don't get to define, whether you're a member of Congress or a member of the military, what is patriotism. I think that the police are very patriotic. I think that firemen are very patriotic. You don't get to define patriotism just because you emotionally and politically disagree with another candidate. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. But let's go on.
As president, I will bring this spirit of real patriotism to the White House, serving the interests of all Americans, not just the rich and powerful.
Okay, I got to stop her again, and let's try and really get this broken down. What is real patriotism? I'm sorry, you're using an empty term. This is a straw man. This is useless. It's like listening to the others on the stage. I think it was de Blasio, as they say, oh, I'm going to transform. It was de Blasio. I'm going to transform America. Okay, you're going to institute real patriotism. What does that mean? Does that mean communism? Does that mean socialism? Does that mean progressive gender identity politics? Does that mean social justice? What does that mean? And I'm taking this from the perspective of a Democrat and a liberal. I just gave you 4 different ways to define patriotism under those political ideologies, and I don't know what you mean. Please explain this. You're playing with words and emotions on people while you're making the speech, and you're not telling us anything. It's an empty statement, and people deserve more from a candidate for the presidency. Let's go back to her time.
I'll fight for our rights and freedoms of all Americans, upholding these principles in our Constitution upon which our country was founded. Fighting for justice and equality for all. Fighting for every single American, regardless of race or religion, as we strive towards that more perfect union. And as president, I'll bring this unifying spirit of love for country and the soldiers' values of service above self to the White House, truly leading a government of, by, and for the people.
Secretary Julian Castro.
Before we get to Castro, yes, that sounds wonderful, Ms. Gabbard. Representative Gabbard, yes, we should go by the Constitution. But let's understand that it's the Democratic Party that says that the Constitution is wrong. It's the Democrats who are saying that we need to get rid of the Second Amendment. Guess what? That's part of the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. What guarantees it? The Second Amendment. What party opposes the Second Amendment? The Democratic Party and the Socialist Party. Guess what? You listen to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Representative Ilhan Omar, you listen to Rashida Tlaib. You're hearing them say that we have to change the Constitution, that we have to destroy it. According to the DNC, the answer is that we need to be more like AOC and the Socialist Democrats than we need to be like the Constitution. So please explain to me, what are you really trying to stand up for? Because your own Democratic Party disagrees with you, and that's a problem for